Thank you, Nighthawk, and welcome to Plato's Cave on WZZR, coming to you from Australia, the land down under, for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. It's home to fresh ideas, and some that are reheated. It's all good. It's good. Good. Conversations in the chat room. I'm not there. I'll get there as soon as I can.
I'm there.
It's really great. Oh, good man. It was really great on Tuesday. A lot of interaction. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Very enjoyable. Even stayed on for, I think, a half hour or so afterwards, more chatting in the chat room. So come into the chat room if you're listening live. If you're listening to this somewhere, whatever platform, try to make the shows live, both Plato's Cave and Shiny Side Out. We do try to keep an eye on the chat, because there's always some interesting stuff coming through from our listeners, of course. That's you, in case you didn't know. So participate. This is not just us talking at you, but rather this could be a two-way street if you're so inclined. So please do come on in to the chat, and I'm just getting in there now. Now, very important announcement, message, missive. The station is not supported, sponsored, or otherwise by anyone other than you. And that means that your donations help keep the station alive. So if you can donate, please do. If you can't, that's okay. That's okay. You just tell people about the station, and maybe one of the people you tell gets to donate. So, it's like sort of paying it forward in a way. And any kind of donation is good. Crypto, cash, whatever tickles your fancy. So donations are required for the station to survive. Thank you so much. Today is the 22nd of February, 2024.
Crowd goes wild.
And on Saturday it'll be 02, I guess, 2024. So it'll be sort of not really like a proper number backwards, but kind of sorta. It'll do, right? Catch the Cave on air, online, on the line all the time, and onto your smart device, so grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a great tabletop digital radio. If you're listening on the ISS or on Mr. Bigelow's space station, he has one, he's got a space station. I didn't know that. He does. It's true. It's a fact. Now, hey, you know what? The archives are free. Another good reason to donate. So get into the archives, get your content. Love some, hate some. It's all good. It's all good. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast, and for Dave.
It's the Bundjalung.
Of course it is, and for myself, the Direct people, and we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Couple of things, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of things, I think. Most important, I think the most important thing is this. The puppet show, the shadows on the wall, etc., they made us believe that there is such a thing as justice and fairness in the world, and there's such a thing as a controlled war, with where civilians are not targeted, etc., right? And you had the United Nations organizations, right? And you had the Geneva Conventions, and rules of engagement. Yep. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, all of that, right? Yeah, that's out the window. Just so. Oh, by the way, I love the meme that you put up, the Old Testament writers, the Epic of Gilgamesh. I think
it's good, isn't it?
Awesome. I just liked it, my friend. That's out the window. I mean, look, was it ever a thing? I don't know. I mean, you look at the Vietnam War. You look at any war, really, from World War I onwards. There was a time in European warfare where the rules of war were very strictly observed, even during the American Civil War. What do I mean? Right? So Europe had gone through the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648. It was devastating. was a religious war, ostensibly. Catholics versus Protestants, well, at least that's what they said. And it sort of, in my opinion, it came to a close. A number of reasons, but one of the key reasons in my mind was the impending Ottoman threat, trying to encroach upon Europe, and then a few years later trying to take Vienna, and all Europeans band together, etc. Anyway, but the point here is this: after the 30 Years' War, Europeans thought, "Oh man, this is horrific." I mean, this was a year that lasted literally 30 years. There's also another war called the 100-Year War, but slightly different scenario. The 30 Years' War really was terrible, and civilian populations were victimized. So what the kings and queens of Europe decided, you know what? From now on, war shall be a very, I guess in the vernacular of the day, I guess a gentlemanly or a chivalrous affair. So they would have this battlefield. It was actually a field, believe it or not, and then they would have at it, right? Like if there was a dukedom or some such, or smaller kingdoms or whatever, they would just have at it, and then, but only the armies. They wouldn't go around ransacking the.
And they would march in cubes.
Well, essentially, yeah, that's right. And that sort of carried through to some extent, at least for European warfare. It carried through as well, and not in the Revolutionary War. Interestingly enough, in America, that was brutal, and so was the French Revolution itself. Of course, that was brutal. But then again, the Civil War, which it was brutal, but it didn't target, initially at least, civilian populations. But people did, believe it or not. They brought picnics to sit by the side. Yeah, to sit by the side of the battlefield. Oh, Marjorie, why don't you give you some of that wonderful lemonade you just made? Yes, there you go. And a piece of pecan pie. Why not? Well, people got blown to bits on the battlefield. Now, that didn't last very long as the battles became more brutal and widespread.
Hey, Mackie, was there a war that happened like annually where they would just set up, or monthly or something, where they'd set up and have a conflict and go away again?
Possibly.
I thought there was.
Look, you know what? We'll have a look, and we'll tell you on Sunday or Tuesday. And that sounds, it sounds like a reasonable thing, like a soccer match, right? It's like it's like instead of having the Super League, we have the Shoot 'em Dead League.
It was more like an event that they had, and then they'd go away, and then they'd come back later, another time, organized time, to meet there and do the same thing again.
And yes, and so that kind of thing did happen because, like I said, it was a ghastly thing, the 30 Years' War, and they wanted to bring some more civilized conduct to it. That's why one of the rules of war, I should say, is not to target unduly, or specifically the officer class, because in the minds of the generals and the various plenipotentiaries and people in charge, in their mind, it was the officers that held the troops together and gave some order to any given battle. Right, that was the thought. So you shouldn't unduly target officers. Now, having said all of that,
not today. We take them out first.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's why most officers don't wear any more.
Don't salute me on the battlefield. I'm telling
you. That's right. No, you're trying to kill me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But that sort of went out the window in the late 19th century, certainly with World War I, and then with the brutality of World War II. I mean, it all just went away. Geneva Convention. Yeah. The Geneva Conventions are still there, for the treatment of prisoners. I mean, it's still, atrocities happen. So
not everyone followed those rules.
No, of course not. Look, but that was the narrative. The narrative was, yes, we can do this in a civilized fashion. Right? But now there's no such narrative anymore. I don't know when it became obvious.
Obvious.
Well, yeah, it's become.
I love your choice of words.
Yeah, I know, right? Because now, if you look at the war in the Ukraine specifically, and the war that is unfolding, but what's happening in Gaza at the moment, I would say that civilian populations are targeted specifically. And this you can no longer call this collateral damage when when most of the combatants, when most of the casualties of your various attacks or whatever are in fact civilians. That's no longer collateral damage. That's extermination. That's of the civilian population. And the Russians are targeting
bring back carpet bombing.
to bring back all the daisy cutters.
But the daisy yes.
But that's really dreadful.
Yeah.
Because we're now entering into a new era of, in my mind, unrestricted conventional warfare. And I'm saying conventional warfare advisedly here, because nuclear wars is completely out of the question. Because that's a game ender. That's not a game changer; it's a game ender. If we engage in a nuclear exchange, good night, all done. Thank you very much.
I'm just straight away. I'd say the northern hemisphere would no longer be a hemisphere.
No.
The southern hemisphere, it would take some time for that, and we'd have time on our hands to wait, right, before it was going to be polluting terribly.
100%. Look, look, the way the winds are blowing and the ocean currents are flowing, we would be okay-ish. But you're right, the northern hemisphere would be a gloosphere. It would now be known as the gloosphere. Nuclear winter and all that.
Yeah, crops dying, all the bad things.
Yeah, it'd be game over. So I honestly don't think
climate change would probably, there'd be a different kind of change. But let's say that running an EV wouldn't really be important anymore.
Carbon emissions would be moving to the bottom of the totem pole.
That's right.
That's like, what? It's all carbon. Are you blind?
The whole thing's carbon.
Yes, sir. Oh,
I like the Russians see and the Americans see. Very nice.
That's
do
right.
you remember the threat that North Korea had from Trump, that he was just going to make it the North Korean Sea?
That's right. Daddy, what are Russians?
It's the Mandela effect happening again. That's what
it is, right? No, but look, it's certainly something that we need to keep an eye on, right? Because I think the brutality is shining through. It is shining through. You can no longer say it isn't a thing, because it is. It is, and we are headlong falling into it. And by the same token, Dave, I spent a lot of time watching documentaries this week.
Oh, totally.
After hours.
After. Not so much after hours. That's right.
Oh,
don't have to talk about it. I'm just round the clock now.
Yeah, I know, man. But Dr. Stephen Greer specifically, there was Accidental Truth, which is an excellent documentary, and then Endgame to Disclosure, etc., etc. So, and he all those documentaries very neatly describe what I had been led to believe for a long time, to be honest with you, because I've always had a problem, as you would know, Dave. I always had a problem with the anthropomorphic principle of the visitors, right?
Yes.
I always had an issue with that, and there are various explanations we put forward as to why that might be. And we spoke significantly about my labs as well, which are military abductions.
That's correct.
Yes, you didn't know. And there are a few statements made. There was two people that, and I think, look, I don't know, I have to go back to the documentary, but they were fairly senior people within corporations, after the fact or retired, etc. Right? And there are two things. Two different people said two things. One, everything you can imagine, we're already doing. It's like, whatever you can imagine in your mind, we could do.
That was the head of Skunkworks, wasn't it?
I think that's correct. I think that's correct. I don't want to, but yeah,
I know it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing was, we are 300 years behind what we can actually do. So let me put it this way, and it makes sense, to be honest with you, because it's compartmentalized, and it's also the way corporations and fascism works. So in 1958, it seems, we had conquered gravity. That's why you don't hear about anti-gravity anymore, right? It's just the and at that point, and remember, it was Eisenhower who warned us about the military-industrial complex, right?
He did.
And in fact, it was Eisenhower during his administration, or just afterwards, or especially I think it was his farewell speech, where they really got into their own. World War II set the stage for our current economic system. We spoke about this before. It's just how it is. We're living in a corporate fascist world. It's not democracy. It's not capitalism. It's corporate fascism.
That's right.
Too big to fail.
There are so many more examples on a month-to-month basis that this is the way it is, that you really need to see it. Remember who's running the world now, and we're talking about big tech, governments telling big tech how to control us.
Yeah.
But it's the big tech that have decided upon themselves what we can and can't say. Yeah. And that's how that network now works.
And that's exactly right. And to not to put too fine a point on it, those corporate entities, is what they are. They have no oversight. They don't have to answer to anyone. There's no recourse from a governmental point of view. And you have to understand as well that there are various layers of security clearances which go beyond the president.
Oh yeah, right? Totally.
And go beyond the director of the CIA, of the NSA, of et cetera, head of defense.
Cosmic is above everybody.
Yeah, and in fact, so very few, and again, Dr. Greer made this point as well, but I thought about this for a long time. Very few career politicians, but even bureaucrats, career bureaucrats are read in. Very few. They don't know what's good. They know as much as we do, more or less, because they just don't know, and they're just as blown away by all of this as everybody else.
Any revelation, that's right. I didn't even know. Even people working in offices next to each other won't be discussing what they're working on.
That's correct. And where does the money come from? Well, look, they're black budgets. I mean, and we know how expensive things are. And there was like we lost some how many $1 trillion did we lose on 9/11?
Yeah, I think wasn't it two? It was $2 trillion or something like that. $2
trillion. I think that's
a big
2,000.
number. Yeah.
That's $2,000 billion. Right. You can buy a couple of
couldn't account for it.
Pops.
No, there was no.
Yeah. And then they came back. Oh, that was just an accounting error. Okay. Who got fired again? What? Anyone?
Yeah, but the office was destroyed in 9/11.
Well,
where those records were kept.
How unfortunate, Dave.
I know.
How unfortunate. Same thing happened in the World Trade Center and in the adjoining buildings. A lot of
Building 7
case files. Yes, that's the one. A lot of case files were destroyed. And anyway, that's a whole different can of worms. But so the money is there, okay, and there's no oversight. Plus, those organizations run drugs, they run arms, they're probably involved in any kind of nefarious activity you can imagine.
So the rumors suggest, yes.
No, it's not even a rumor. There was this gentleman.
No, I'm just being very careful.
Oh no, I hear you. But there was a gentleman. I forget his name. But he came to the Nexus conference.
His name was "I want to start my car in the morning."
I don't think he's with us anymore.
But there you go. I want to start my one. Yeah.
He was a police officer, and I think he was in LA, but I could be wrong. And the CIA tried to recruit him to help sell drugs, etc., etc. Anyway, so look, we all know it's a thing. There's the secret agencies, etc. Iran Contra. I mean, it's not like you have to stretch your imagination to understand what's going on.
To any extent. That's
right. But it is clear that if this is true, right? And by the way, these Tic Tac UFOs or UAPs, and I'll come back to what they said in the Congress hearing because it makes a lot more sense once you understand the background there, are in fact man-made. So they have conquered gravity, and that's that's really the key thing. Once you conquer gravity, you can build those kinds of flying machines with because there's no inertia.
Greatest of ease.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about any maneuvers because it doesn't apply to you. You're outside that gravitational force, if you will. Right?
Yeah. Just imagine putting a shell around your ship that you could accelerate in any direction. It wouldn't matter. You're not bound by the external issue. You're shielded from it all, and you relatively don't experience any G-forces.
Correct. And it seems that they've also managed to there's the propulsion systems are not what we understand them. Like
they don't use regular fuels. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but our propulsion systems are mechanical, right? Mostly and noisy and vibrations, etc. These things, nothing.
Gravitic.
Gravitic. And in fact, like I said, 300 years ahead of what we have out in the world.
And what was the head of Skuntworks? He also said in a post-conference discussion with someone, said, we've got the technology to take ET home.
Yeah, that's right. So all of a sudden, everything sort of falls into place, right? It's really, I'll come back to that point in a second, but so you have these advanced systems, clearly, and they sort of trickle them out to us. They trickle them out, right? And in the while we, I mean, living in poverty, people starving to death, etc. I mean, the magnitude of the crime that is being committed. Forget treason, forget lying, forget embezzlement, forget all of that. I mean, but the magnitude of the crime that is committed against humanity by holding that technology back is almost beyond belief. So the question then becomes, why do we hold it back? Well, imagine just for a second, we were all given free energy devices because that's the fundamental basis for this whole thing. It's free energy. Okay? And we have conquered gravity and all that. All of a sudden, all of the Tesla stuff as well is out in the world. All control would evaporate. Our entire societal structure would completely change. All of it. Completely. It would no longer be what we consider our civilization. It would be something else. And everybody would now be able to experience total freedom, actual freedom. Because you have now the means to go anywhere and do anything you want. Spend your time. We would be living in a post-scarcity society, even more fantastic than Star Trek. Okay? We all become completely autonomous if we want to. I mean, we still live in communities, families, and villages, etc. Sure, right? And in interest groups, people might now choose to get together by interest groups. We're all interested in this. Let's all live together for a while or whatever, right? I mean, who knows? Who knows what kind of societal norms would evolve or arise? I have no idea. But the control would be gone, and the people in charge that calling the shots and put themselves on top of the heap wouldn't have any of the control. And that's the singular reason that we are where we are. Okay? Flea, I agree. I completely agree. Flea just said that they will never reveal anti-gravity. It's the absolute holy grail of control. Thank you, Flea, and I completely agree. You're right. Now, how then? What do we do? I mean, this is. I mean, of course, you could take the bigger picture and say, well, this is just a false matrix anyway. This is not our real home, and all we have to do is get out of here. But we are stuck here for now, right? And not all of us can cleanse our pineal gland to the point where we can just get out of here, right?
It's too late.
It's really, really hard.
You save yourself.
I know. It's really hard. It's hard. You have to live a life of yogic cultivation and self-denial that is beyond almost human. I mean, people do it.
You can wear a pair of ruby slippers and click your heels together.
That's
say there's no place like home.
Yeah, I know. And again, Flea is making more points around the ultimate technology. I completely agree, Flea. You're 100% correct. But we something has to be done. So we are still here. We're caught in this cycle of rebirth, and we come back over and over again. Just to be again in the clutches of control. right? And most recently, see, the awareness cascade states two things as an ultimate outcome of what we should strive for. One is escape, if we can. Good for you. But the second one, which most people might not remember, is turn this place into home, into paradise, if you will. Turn this place into a place where you want to be. Make this the place where you can expand your capabilities and your potential. Right? That's the other option. That's the hard. Well, I guess in many ways that might be the harder road to take. To try to turn this ship around, right? In this reality. But Dave, it was really when I watched these documentaries in quick succession, I might say, it was really like kind of a realization. And then there's more. What's happening on Skinwalker Ranch? It was linked by especially I think it was I can't remember who was one of the people that was in the documentary as well, but they made references to David Paulides, and then in David Paulides' documentary, they were made references back to this. And they said what David Paulides was investigating, sorry if you don't know, this is the missing 411 stuff, it's very closely related to the Skinwalker Ranch phenomena.
Yes.
Okay? And I'm worried about the whole Skinwalker Ranch program. It started out with a group that was slightly different to what it is now. Okay? And then they brought in the new, I guess, chief scientist and let go of the initial one. There were two ones, and they kept one, but they let the other one go, and they brought in this new guy, Trevor.
Sure.
Right? And Trevor had been on a few shows, etc. And he also worked for the head of ATIP, or ATIP was a thing. And then the guy from ATIP resigned, and I can't remember his name. You see him. He's just like Nick Pope. They're all talking heads, right? They're all out there.
Sure.
But the problem is, I think that these guys they're not here to help us. I think here to give us some misinformation. And the Skinwalker Ranch phenomenon is real enough, right? I'm just worried that now maybe all the wrong people are getting their fingers into it. Because while most of the advancements we've seen is probably retro-engineered stuff from things that were shot down or crashed or whatever, there's still the bigger mystery, Dave, if you will, of the actual extraterrestrial, interterrestrial, or interdimensional, whatever, visitors.
Like the portal.
Maybe intertemporal.
That's right.
And that is still something, right? So yes, we have this cabal, let's call them cabal, the parasites, that are keeping us in the dark, right? But then we also have the actual originators of this tech, right? And there might be many different ones. I mean, also, like I said, intertemporal, interdimensional, interstellar. I don't know. I don't know. And ultimately, if we had that tech available to us, all of these options would be open, I think. Right?
Just think if we were able to, or force the portal open at will through some kind of technology, beam or wavelength, or however it's done, doesn't matter. Then we could travel to wherever they're coming from.
Yeah,
like Stargate, right? The monkeys have discovered Stargate, right? And then how? I think we'd get lost pretty quickly. I think we'd be overwhelmed with what we find. And this is the big thing. When the military gets involved, because Bigelow had it, right? He owned the place.
Yeah.
Discovered the dickens out of it, and then was party to working on a whole bunch of tech that was all top secret, because this is where all the NGOs distributed all these bits to trying to work out what it is. And he was one of those. And what's his icon? It's the grey alien head, right? That's the Bigelow Spaceship Company icon. Now, I have to argue this, and I'll pass it back to you, but I've got to argue this. The typical grey alien is in all of our pop culture. my children, I said this 10 years ago, my children had a trampoline made by Vulu, I think it is, Vulu. And there was an alien on it, a grey alien, that, where it's in movies, it's in kids' cartoons. I think everyone is now used to it. We shouldn't be scared of it because we've been indoctrinated for so long that the grey alien is a thing. I'm sure it's real. I've written about them in my book. But how much, I wonder, Meki, has the current crew and certainly the ATIP people that went in to discover really what was going on and then exited again. Then we have the genres talking heads move in to, maybe popularize it even further. It's a good strategy for the TV show. Is there anything else to learn that hasn't been learned already? Or is it just this new group? I'm asking you, Meki. Is it this new group who's just rediscovering it again or taking it like exponentially just one little tiny click further? What do you think's going on?
Bigelow doesn't strike me as a man, especially after spending 20 years doing this, that would just give up. He would have extracted everything that he needs. Or, after 20 years, he came to the realization, well, whatever I've gotten, and he's gotten stuff, I'm sure, right? But whatever I've gotten, that's all I'm going to get. I won't get any more because I just can't. And none of it was ever made public.
That's right.
This is really important. And then now another gentleman, Mr. Fugel, has bought it and is now, thrown the gate wide open, if you will. And military helicopters came around and they found a tunnel system connecting the ranch, or actually another ranch that was also owned by Bigelow to a military complex.
Didn't they visit that last year?
Yeah, in a spin-off of the show, which is called Beyond Skinwalker Ranch.
I loved that one. That was great.
Yeah. Oh, look, absolutely. And the kicker here is this, right? I believe that the original research team on Skinwalker Ranch was, assembled by Mr. Fugel has one purpose, which is to uncover this mystery. Because I think he's like the brothers that are looking at Oak Island. He's like that. Right? He's a Mormon, and I don't know if you know much about Mormon, the Mormon belief system.
I've seen the Book of Mormon.
Church of Latter-day Saints. Well, the history is that they found this gold, this book that had pages of gold that was given to them by an angel.
A fellow,
translated.
A single one of them, yeah.
Correct. But essentially it was the tribes of, or the missing tribes of Israel had come, or some of them had come to America. There's a whole story around this. But there's certainly, I guess, what's the best word? Supernatural.
He couldn't specifically show anyone else the Golden Book, and he had to transcribe it.
Oh no, he wasn't allowed to. Yeah,
that's
then
right.
The angel took it back. But I mean, is this an alien interference or not? I mean, who knows, right? But there's certainly certain aspects to it. And same with the Bible. I mean, the Bible is full of technological, unexplained stuff. It's just shock. It's action packed with UFOs and strange tech and weaponry. It really is. You just have to read it properly.
Yeah. Or you can read the precursor to those. Yeah.
So I think he really is interested, and his brother is helping him. His brother's got an aviation company. He's a helicopter pilot, and they do things, and some of them got hurt, injured, right?
And out of the mesa.
Yeah, and I think they really are trying. They really are trying to unlock it. And I've had some conversations with some people, and I've believed this for a long time. But I think the tech that is there, ancient, I think in my mind, right? It's buried inside a mesa for crying out loud. I think with the right genetic material, you would be able to operate it. What I mean by that is if you carry the right genes.
Oh, that was totally the story I wrote.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense, right? And there's another thing that you mentioned earlier around opening the portals. native people of the area or any area, but this area specifically, and they have this I guess a song. A song is probably the wrong word. I guess like a musical thing, and that according to the law, that opens the portal or causes the portal to open. So there seems to be some kind of acoustic or sonic key to it as well. And another point I was going to make before I forget it, in the congressional hearings recently, they said, we're not interested in man-made UFOs or UFOs. Remember that?
Yeah.
They made a specific point about this. And if you think about what we've just said, all of a sudden it makes sense. So they know that some of the stuff is not from someone else, but it's ours. And they say, we're not looking at that. In fact, if we looked at that, they'd probably kill us. Okay, so we've been warned off. Thank you very much. And this is really how it is. And you have to understand, again, people don't think this is possible, Dave. But I urge you to read history. And again, I come back to it. Confessions of Economic Hitman is a really good book. It's laid out there. And if bribery fails, if intimidation fails, if favoritism fails, right? If all of these things fail, the peaceful methods, if you will, they will kill you. They will kill you. They will kill you. They will kill everybody with you. They will kill in order to get their thing through. They don't. That's not their first choice, right? But it's by no means would they shrink away from it. That's just for obvious things like overthrowing, governments in South America. That's not super, secret. We know what happens, right? Imagine what they would do to you if you came knocking on the door of the secret facilities asking for full disclosure. And what do we know? And
good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that.
Pass. Can I not do that? Because I don't want to do that.
But another thing that's important to realize here is this. There are not many. I would say, this is my opinion, the people that are engaged in these clandestine activities, the inner eggs of the corporate fascist world, if you will, right? That have all this tech, and all the people that work with them on the tech, that actually know about this and are read in, I think that number of people is in the thousands at most. It's in the thousands, okay? At most. Not in the millions, and certainly not in the billions. So there aren't that many of them, okay? And that's probably the most important thing to realize. Yes, powerful, yes, and the tech, I mean, look, there no longer is any secrecy. There's no longer any privacy. If you think you can have a private conversation, or you think that your browser history is not accessible to anyone who wants it, I got another thing coming for you.
Sorry about that. The truth hurts, doesn't it?
The truth hurts. Own it. Own it. Yeah. See, in the vetting process for whatever clearance you're after, they ask you everything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't ask you everything to embarrass you or to disqualify you.
No, they don't.
They ask you everything so it's out in the open, so it can't be used against you. So maybe you like to wear, maybe you're like a middle-aged guy who likes to wear stockings and high heels, and takes a milk bath. I don't know, whatever, right? No, I don't do that. But says he. But
good morning to everyone in the States, by the way.
Good morning. But the critical thing here is that you can say, yeah, that's me, all of that, yes. Right? You have to be beyond blackmail.
You can't be bribed for the release of information which you've already given to the government to achieve your clearance level. That's right.
Right. It's not to disqualify you, but it's to say, well, this is me. Yes, I've done this and I've done that and that, and right. So I mean, it's up to the government then to decide whether to give you clearance. But if they need you and everything is out in the open, then who cares? Who cares, right? And look, everybody has got secrets. They would, I guess, rather not revealed, etc., right, to whomever. From I mean, look, it's human nature. But if you really have nothing to hide, then who cares? Everything's out. I don't care. So that's really the critical thing. to understand. And so there's no secrecy. So what? Right? So what? But I think it's our right to have secrets. I think. I mean, I'm not talking about terrible secrets that harm other people, but things that yours, private, your own private things, right? That you don't want anyone to know, because maybe your personality is, maybe you're an introvert, right? And if you're an introvert, just talking to other people is difficult for you. Okay, it's uncomfortable. It costs a lot of energy to talk to other people.
Yeah, okay? That's debilitating.
Yeah, and maybe you just don't want the spotlight on you, right? You don't want people looking at you and going through your stuff, because you're a private person. It's just who you are.
Well, not directly into your own eyes.
Yeah, that's it. So it's really, I mean, there might not be anything terribly compromising. It's just, but it's your private personal stuff, your life, right? That you don't want looked at, because it's yours. It's yours, right? Flea Flea just put this comment in. A sack of money headed Mackie's way. He's talking too much. People are concerned about his disclosure.
No, yeah, what Mackie did was provide an example of what the discussion with your government agency when you're being enlisted in some top secret level. You just must declare everything.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not averse to sex of money, by the way. Happy.
Yeah.
All the sex. We can use it.
They drove a dump truck full of money to my door. I'm only human.
I love that song, Only Human. But no, look, I was upset before, in general with things and people, and I'm more upset now in a way. Not resigned. I just feel, I don't know, Dave, what the right word here is. I feel disturbed, dejected. I want this information. I want people to have a chance at life. Everybody. I want everybody to have a chance at life. I look around me. I have my eyes wide open, Dave. I walk around the world. I see things, right? And I'm thinking, this is not right. I mean, you see kids that they don't have enough of anything, even in countries like ours, and they're singled out already. Their parents made bad choices, maybe they're drug addicts, I don't know, whatever. But I think everybody should have a chance, right? I know that sounds terribly naive and pink glasses and whatnot, but
sure.
But I really believe that everybody, Dave, deserves a chance. Totally. And we're just not giving that, right? We're not giving that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Look. The world has changed. I think it's in Sweden, Mackie. In Sweden, there's no private schools.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and schooling's free.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And there aren't private schools, and all of the rich kids go to the public schools, because there's no private learning, and everybody has the same chance.
I think that's wonderful. I really think that's wonderful.
And what happens instead of the private schools, rubbing shoulders with other parasites' children, it is everybody are friends to start with. And it changes how you see people when you're older, they've discovered. And so I thought that was such a unique perspective, because, that's not what it's like here in Australia, and certainly in America it's not the same. And you'd be lucky to go to college if you can afford it. So there's a cutoff over there of people who can't seek further education, unless you went there on a sports scholarship. But you're really determining which way you're going to go when you go in there. And so, you're going to play for a college team, and then in the big leagues if you can make it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's totally different. When I watched that, the perspective changed. immediately changed for me. And I know I posted this on LinkedIn, Becky, so if you're out there listening, just check my LinkedIn. What was unusual was, I'm not too proud a person to talk to anybody, just to anyone. And I thought that really resonated with me. So I did post it. But that's the way I feel. Man, when I grew up, Maggie, I always thought there shouldn't be a country in the world that you can't go to.
Agreed.
And the reason why we have walls is because we dislike the people that want to come to us. Why? Because we're indoctrinated to hate them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it is. We've done nothing but conflict and war against each other and mistrust, I suppose. We don't trust anyone else except for those people who are similar to ourselves.
Yeah.
And is that for good reason? Historically, yes, because I don't think we've been able to prove that we can get along without those walls. But then what happens once you built the wall? You are so isolated. You're like the Michael Jackson, but you're a country where reality no longer drives where you're going. It's an echo chamber of your own societal thoughts. And it only exasperates whatever the reason was for putting the wall up in the first place. You end up massively hating on everybody else. And I'm not saying the wall to stop illegal immigrants. I mean the wall around your people, whoever they are. And I think that's a tragedy. Deep Space Nine taught us that it doesn't matter how open your borders are, you're going to still encounter the same kinds of people regardless.
I know, right?
That's what I learned from it. You're always going to find a thief, you're going to find a murderer, you're going to find good people, you're going to find cooperative people, you're going to find people who are just in it for themselves, whatever it happens to be. That's the mix of our personality types, our learnt behavior. And until we can have a shoulder-to-shoulder free education system that teaches everyone, borderless, that we're all the same, and I'm going to sound like one world government, like a new world order kind of thing. I think that's the only way forward into the next echelon of humans or society. I think it's the only way forward. Until we can do that, I think we're going to always be pressed into a corner and have to have cat-like reactions against everything that occurs against us. Because that's you view that, and it's that live by the sword, die by the sword thing. If you're always in fight or flight, everything's either kill it or run. And I think they're all the wrong things. We're doing everything wrong. But the government doesn't. This is Plato's cave, of course. So what does the government do? Oh, we need to close our borders. We need to. I'm not saying open them. I'm not saying that. But I think and this is in reflection to the orders of the. I know it's really weird. It's going to get weird. Have you got your tinfoil hat on? The Georgia Guidestone instructions about preparing. And once there's a catastrophe, for instance, and these were the only instructions we had, like the Ten Commandments, for instance, these instructions would lead us in the next direction. If we could follow those alone, like the last time we got some 10 instructions, and we really miserably failed, I think we get an F minus on our report card trying to follow those instructions. That was simple. I don't think we could do it again. Fail is bad. Maybe next time we can get a C plus. I hope. And now back to you in the studio, Mickey.
Where do we take it from here?
I drove down to a cul-de-sac, so good luck with
No,
that.
no, it's no. But look, we
It
need
deserves
the
commentary.
stream of consciousness, and that's important. And this is what this show is really all about, to be honest with you. Then the show notes here. Show notes are reserved for the shiny side out. But I think the message today, I guess, because we only have a few minutes left for the overall show and what we've shared with you, is just be aware of the limitations that are placed upon us, the limitations that we accept because we think that's just how it is. We just think that's Dave. We think it's how it is. All right. Be aware that our current system that we live in under, whatever you want to call it, isn't that old. It hasn't been around for a really long. It hasn't been around for a long time, and the system is changing as well. But but the cabal, the parasites, have unprecedented power at the moment, completely unprecedented. And it was really our lack of vigilance that let this happen. Right? We are to blame to some extent because we became complacent. Right? Oh, look at us, we've done so well after World War II. Oh man, look at us, look at that. Then again in the 90s, communism is defeated. Hurrah! Whatever that means. And then all of a sudden the narrative changed again. 2001. Oh, what? And then it has been changing every year since then. It's a sobering world we live in. And again, I come back to Dr. Greer. He said, we need to get these people into court of law. Because the funny thing is this. Yes, we need to get these people into court of law outside the system. They're using the system to control all of us. The laws, the police, everything, the bureaucracy, everything is geared to a total control. Right? But that system needs to exist for the total control to be exerted. And just theoretically, you could use that system to force their hand and bring it all out in the open. You could. Or you force them out in the open and then the whole thing just falls apart. I don't think that's something they want. Right? So can we get them to court? Can we get them into a court of law? Can we sue them? Right? Maybe. Right now, what we see in America, just as an example, Donald Trump, they're trying to break him. They couldn't break him in any other way but to get at his money. That's it. They're getting his money. They want to get his money, and then once they've got his money, then what's he going to do? Right?
That's right.
Because he doesn't seem to have enough cash to pay all those fines that we're levying against him. And to be honest with you, I mean, those are some ridiculous sums of money. Now, punitive damages, we discussed before, is something that is designed to ensure that the person is not going to do it again. Mm-hmm. That's really the point of punitive damages. How much money will it take for this person never to do whatever they did again?
That's right.
And so first of all, did the person do the wrong thing? Then you have to prove that. So that's one thing. But then secondly, how do you determine that? How much money would it take for this person never to do this again, right? I mean, if you completely bankrupt them, then you're sure they can't do everything. They can't do it again. Not really. I mean, they're completely gone now. They got nothing. So, is that fair? Now, as you know, I'm no fan of billionaires. I'm not, right? So, I got no issue with levying those kinds of fines. But why are we doing this to Donald Trump? Am I a Donald Trump fan? Not on your best day. But I don't believe in injustice. Did he have it coming? You can argue this any which way you want. but he has been singled out to not run for president.
Well,
and
do you know
who
what
are
happens?
these people? Go on.
What happens when he doesn't run?
Well, that's a good question. Actually.
The Democrats don't get their anyone but Trump vote.
That is true. You're right, Dave. We should discuss this more. Don't tell me. Okay, it actually is confusing, everybody. This has been Platos Cave. Thank you so much for allowing us into your life, however briefly. And donate if you can, but most of all, be safe.